is way more than life. And some people figured it out, some haven't. Some haven't. Some people figured it out. Some people out here in the world who has figured it out. You know, certain people just can't live under those type of circumstances and those type of rules. That's why a lot of people in this day and age is starting to take chances and just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and just thug through whatever I need to thug through and start my own business.
Don't be shy, let's take a ride.
What's up, YouTube world? It's your boy Scenario the Illustrator, and I'm back again with another video. And the topic I'll be touching on today is why it's so hard for people to just be themselves. Yes, you heard it. Why it's so hard for people to just be themselves. Boom, let's dive off into it. This is a circumstance and a situation I've been paying attention to in details lately on what's been going on, just in general, from the things I've experienced personally. What I've been observing is that why it's so hard for people to be themselves is because I don't know if people have stopped and realized that in the type of times that we living in, I don't think people are paying attention to the fact that we are conditioned and we're trained to not be ourselves. Like, for one, I pay attention to like something like going to work, right? You have to go to work. You have to get up. If you got a 9 to 5, you got to do what you got to do to take care of your business, right? You have to carry yourself in a manner in order to keep that job right. The mentality that you have at home versus the mentality that you have when you show up and you clock in. You may be a little bit more looser at the mouth, at your structure and how you feel deep down inside in actual reality when you at home, right? You're more comfortable. But when you go and you clock in, in a sense, you can't go to work with the same mentality. It's because at work it's structure. At work it's you have to be real careful about the words that comes out your mouth. You gotta be real careful about how you interact and deal with people, is because there's rules that's in effect when you go to work. When you go to work, they expect you to do your job, and that's what they're paying you to do. They're not paying you for your personality. They're not paying you for your input if it doesn't pertain to the job. So how I look at it in a way is that if a person is working under these types of conditions for X amount of years, you're kind of being trained to be to operate and maneuver in a different manner. You kind of like have a two-face. You have two personalities. A lot of people don't realize that by working these jobs, you have to be a certain way at the job, and you can be whoever you want at home. You're more relaxed, and there's two personalities that conflict at times with one another. So how I feel, what I've been peeping game on, and how I've been paying attention to people that I come in contact with, I see this is what they're in conflict with. This is what they're battling. When a person is more independent, more relaxed, more on their own programming and their own time, they don't have to fight within themselves on being who they're trained to be when they go to work. Not saying going to work, there's nothing wrong with clocking in at 9 to 5. Nothing at all. You do what you gotta do. Take care of what you need to take care of for yourself and your family. I'm not knocking the 9 to 5. What I'm saying is that a lot of people who can't be themselves, or people who are under certain rules and regulations in certain environments that they pop up and they show up in. They can't touch in a job environment. You can't, there's certain topics you can't touch because it doesn't pertain to the job. Yes, of course, you still gonna have your conversations with your coworkers, and y'all still gonna be able to interact and deal with each other on y'all level. But in a sense, y'all gotta keep it on the low. Y'all gotta keep it on a hush about how you maneuver and you operate out here in this world. There's certain things that you will be able, you discussing with off the clock with certain people you can't discuss on the clock, is because it's a conflict of the job interest, and it turn into a liability, and it can cause issues and problems because the philosophy doesn't add up to the job's it doesn't add up to the job's rules and regulations. So I've been peeping game on certain things, like how a person is out here maneuvering. If you decide to become independent about certain things that's out here in the world, it's like you gotta lead people in a direction of understanding so they can get on the same page as you. Because sometimes out here in this world, some of your closest friends are the people that you're close to. You'll be talking and communicating with them, but in a sense of talking and communicating, the type of things that you choose to talk and react with, they'll understand. But in a sense, it's like, damn, like I get where you're coming from, but it's how can I say it? It interrupts my flow, my way of thinking. It messes with the mind. It's like a glitch. It feels like a glitch. It's because people have to know how to turn it on and turn it off. And in this day and age, I'm starting to see a lot of people who are clocking in to their 9 to 5, starting to do social media while they on the clock. They're starting to do social media because they like, you know what? There's more to life than just getting up and going to work. There's way more to life than that. I'm like, this can't be it. Why so many people don't know how to be themselves is because, to a degree, we're under control. And when you don't have a reminder, or anybody who reminds you, is more to life. It's way more than life to just take rules and being told what to do for a check. It's way more than life. And some people figured it out, some haven't. Some haven't. Some people figured it out. Some people out here in the world who has figured it out. You know, certain people just can't live under those type of circumstances and those type of rules. That's why a lot of people in this day and age is starting to take chances and just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and just thug through whatever I need to thug through and start my own business. It's because I don't like not be able to maneuver and think and move the way and speak the way I choose to speak, but I can't operate, I can't maneuver the way I want to. It's because I'm under these rules. And I feel like at times people are at conflict with themselves, and they don't realize that they're at conflict with themselves. It's because of these circumstances that they're under. And it's something that caught my attention when I communicate with certain people, and as I communicate and I talk to certain people, you know, the conversation is something that's just not adding up. It's like a glitch in the, you know, people glitching to a degree, but you know, you gotta be the ones that, you gotta be smart enough to be able to find the words to get your point across. Everybody is not moving at the same frequency as one another, you know, and you have to, and I find myself a lot finding myself adapting to certain circumstances, certain people, and I gotta be real mindful about certain things that I speak on, what I say, is because one, I don't try to offend anybody about certain things that be on my mind, because I'm one of those type of people. I express myself. If something is on my mind and I want to get it off my chest, I'm expressing myself. You know, that's why I make these videos now. Instead of me just interacting, going straight directly to the source and the problem or the issues, or I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get on camera. I'm gonna start expressing myself. See if there's other people out there in the world that's on the same page that gets it, that understands where I'm coming from. But in this day and age, it's real hard for a lot of people to be able to just be themselves because of the circumstances that they under. And I realize a lot of people's indirectly not tapped into what's really going on because they programmed. A lot of people is programmed in a way where they're not even realizing the type of circumstances that they under. That's why a lot of issues and problems and arguments be happening too in a lot of relationships with a lot of people, I believe, is because of this type of situation that people are under. It's because they don't get, a lot of people, if it's not pointed out and it's not being presented and it's not being brought to the table for you to get what's going on, I can understand why a lot of obstacles and issues happen when you bond with somebody when they're not on the same page as you. I can get how certain things happen out here in the world where you interact with somebody and something is just not clicking, like what's going on, like upstairs. Then a person like me, I'm gonna fall back and I'm gonna look at the situation and I'm gonna dig just a little bit more deeper so I can get some clarification on what's really going on. I'm the type of person, I'm not gonna wait until somebody else comes along and break it down for me, is because that day probably never come. Me, I'm one of those type of people where I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on upstairs. I want to know the solutions. I want to know the problems. I want to know how to get past this obstacle. I want to know how to get past this hurdle. The only way for me to get comfort and clarification from these types of situations, this topic that I'm speaking on, sometimes in life, hey, you maybe gotta go do your own research. Majority of the time, if you really want anything out of life in general, you're going 9 times out of 10. If something that caught your interest and you ain't get enough answers, naturally, what you gonna do? You gonna go do your research anyway. And that's only if you that type of person. I'm that type of person. I want to know more. I want to know why this, that, and the third is going with, why that didn't happen. But for me, I feel like a lot of people can't be themselves is because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's just in a job. This can be people in certain relationships or circumstances. This can be a situation where people, a lot of people is I've been around those type of situations too, where a lot of people with silence on certain things that they can't talk about. A lot of people are in a relationship to a degree where, it feels like dictation. Like somebody's dictating all your moves and your decisions and your thoughts and your words. That's also going on out here too. A lot of people can't be themselves and speak up on too much is because it may mess with the environment that they currently is under. So they can't touch certain type of topics and talk and speak without offending anybody is because of the environment that they in. A lot of people's out here in the world are silenced through a lot of situations and they can't be themselves is because of the environments that they're in. And in order for you to be move about freely out here in this world and be able to speak the way that you choose to speak, you gotta get your own. You gotta do you. You gotta handle your own business on your own terms. So you can be who you want. If something was to bug and bother you in life and something that brings your attention and concern, it'll put you in a situation where, I want to speak and elaborate more about this. I want to talk more about it. But certain situations and problems, sometimes in life, I realize for a lot of people, you got to go and do you. You got to remove yourself so you can have that freedom. So you can do and move about and speak on whatever topics as you please. So this is just something that, caught my attention out here in the world. I locked in and I paid close attention to a lot of people that I deal with And you know, and I'm one of those I think freely about the things that I move about and I go about in life, and I speak on it. If it's something on my heart, something on mine, I'm gonna touch bases on it. You know, that's why now I'm making these videos and I'm putting it out there to find other like-minded people just like me. You know, sometimes in life you gotta be around the people that you feel comfortable with. Sometimes in life you grow from people, you grow outside of, you know, the relationship. Is not necessarily mean that you guys don't no longer get along or y'all not on the same page. Certain people just evolve a little bit more than the next, you know, than the people that they're around. You know, a lot of people, if you are not in a position to be able to be who they really want to be, act on the way that they really want to act on, because they still got things that they got to take care of to put them in a position where they want to be, to get to where they need to be in life. You know, but you know, this is just something that, you know, a lot of people don't really touch these type of topics. These type of topics right here is, you know, is to raise awareness. It's not meant to, you know, make anybody to feel bad or nothing like that. It's just waking somebody up, you know. That's all it takes, is for somebody to, you know, each one teach one, right? But, you know, it was just something on my heart and on my mind that, you know, I want to get off my chest, you know. It's your boy Scenario the Illustrator. Remember, stay 10 toes down, stay blessed, and keep your head on the swivel at all times. Until the next time, peace.